This is your latest Manchester United transfer news as we discuss more about who the secret midfielder could be for Manchester United. Fabrizio Romano sets the price for Manu Kone. Let's get into the midfield because you know what? I want to talk about, we've got Ben Jacobs on at 2, the B&B show. Beth and Ben are back at 2 o'clock. I'm sure we'll get some information on that. I want to talk about what we know about the midfield. I want to talk about that. Obviously, we want to know who this second midfielder is, of course, and the secret second midfielder. You know what? Just on this, I mean, look, we are a great community. We do like a conversation. It can get heated at times, but there are very few accounts I actually respect out there in the footballing space. But I do like Swedish Rumble, and I read his War and Peace this morning, having woken up from the England loss last night and wanting to get back into Manchester United, and he's basically come up with a theory on who the secret midfielder could and maybe should be. But I thought, you know what? Although it's a bit speculative, is this not the sort of midfielder we should be signing? So basically said that there is one midfielder who is in the Premier League, who's played in the Champions League, who plays for a club which we have a stellar relationship when it comes to transfers, 3 transfers in the last 3 years. We've had concrete interest in him in the past. He can play as a 6, he wants a move, and he's fairly experienced and has Champions League experience despite being under 25. That player is Enzo Fernández. So I might have been teeing you up with the whole Lisandro Martinez keep him at Manchester United, because Enzo Fernández is who Swedish Rumble is saying fits the bill absolutely perfect for Manchester United. Now I'm going to run the poll here. Would you sign Enzo Fernández? And then I'm going to tell you how likely it is. Would you sign Enzo Fernández? Because, you know what? I do agree with Swedish Rumble in the sense that he does want out of Chelsea. They do need to sell. And I'm going to just say it, you know, because as an Englishman, I think many people, you know, we've had to be very honest about last night. We were shit when we went 1-0 up and we deserved to lose, and we were cowards. It got me thinking about Man United this morning. I'm not convinced that this summer transfer window is actually very good. I'm not. I think we've been clouded by 2 recent signings, but I don't think this summer transfer window is very good. And seeing England bottle it yesterday made me think about Man United's season coming up. You know, we've got to play Champions League football and Premier League football, and I don't think we're actually that good. And as much as I like Tielemans and Santos is interesting, if you said to me at the start of the summer, a not very good Man United side is going to lose Casemiro and replace him with Tielemans and Santos, I'd have said, and what else? So as we stand here this morning, I would say United's transfer window is a worrying 4 out of 10. And that might be generous. Where's the left back? Where's the attack? Where's the third midfielder? And the third midfielder cannot be João Gomez or anyone like that. I think the third midfielder does need to be marquee. And if you could bring Enzo Fernández into Manchester United alongside Tielemans and Santos and Manu, I think we would suddenly have a very interesting midfield 4. So if you're saying to me, would I take Enzo Fernández at Manchester United? Yes, I would. Do I think he's a bit of a shithouse? Yes. Do I think he was an annoying wanker last night in an Argentinian shirt? Yes. But in a funny way, I respect those players if they're talented. I don't respect Romero. I mean, I saw us being linked to Romero. Get screwed. I don't want that twat anywhere near a Man United shirt. I think he's shit anyway, and I think he's a liability. Yes, he's got passion, but he's a liability. Enzo Fernández has got passion, and I would love him at Manchester United because I think he's a very talented player as well. Do I think we would do a deal like that? Well, we don't know who the secret midfielder is at the moment. So, you know, we can't really state who it is or it isn't. But I would take him every day of the week. Every day of the week. And there's a lot of people in the chat saying no. But if you think about players like that, they're no different to Ander Herrera. Ander Herrera was a shithouse, but he was our shithouse. You know, Bruno Guimaraes is the same. I don't think there's a lot of difference between Bruno Guimaraes and Enzo Fernández. In fact, is Enzo Fernández better? So I would absolutely consider taking Enzo Fernández at Manchester United. But whether we would do a deal like that, I don't think we could afford it. I think Chelsea would be looking for a lot of money, but I'd be over the moon with a signing like that. I think Enzo Fernández, Tielemans and Santos would be a very, very, very good summer from a situation where I thought it wasn't going to be good enough. Do I think it's going to be Enzo Fernández? No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't think that's who it is at all. And I think that, you know, I'm interested to see what Ben Jacobs is going to say. I've been watching Romano. I don't think anybody's got a bloody clue who it is. I don't think anybody knows who it is. We spoke about this last night. I mean, I can guess, but Scott, why would it be quiet? Because Bournemouth don't want to sell, and if they were going to sell, they'd let other clubs know. Camavinga, apparently it's not him. And Mita apparently is too expensive. It's not Baleba. It's not Sander Berg. It's not Wharton. It won't be Goretzka. It's not Angelo Stiller. That's come out this morning as well. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know who it is, but I really do think that it's exciting. And look, this is what Fabrizio Romano had to say this morning in relation to the Manu Kone deal. And it's very important to keep Manu Kone in mind, because he is definitely 100% a player that Manchester United are monitoring, are in talks with. Man United have an excellent relationship with the agent of Manu Kone. Roma are yet to receive an approach from United. We have to wait and see, was Fabrizio Romano. The reports of 80 to 90 million pounds for Kone, that's not the price for him. He is expensive, but it's less than that. So I think that all this talk that we're getting about price on Kone being, I mean, it's 45 million. It's 45 million, it's 40 million, it's 50 million, it's around that. And the Manchester Evening News were even talking about Kone this morning, saying that Man United are eyeing Kone as their next midfield signing. Kone is seen as the primary target to add physicality following Casemiro's departure. So, look, I mean, if it ends up being Manu Kone, you know, the United stand first again. But look, I'm not about that game. It's great that we're getting information, as I've said before, but I know we're in talks with Kone, but who is the other player? And that other player is a threat to whether we sign Kone or not. Kone is an easy deal to do, but I'd love to know who the other player is.
AI can be accurate, but sometimes it can't be. So take this with a pinch of salt. Then I put all of the stats through ChatGPT AI, and I asked them what they thought was the best profile for Manchester United. Now, I'm not saying that ChatGPT is 100% correct here at all. I just wanted to give you a little bit more insight. So this is what they said on the players. They said this. Let me get it up. If United signed one, they said this about Baleba. If you sign Baleba, you want someone to transform the team's defensive structure. He would immediately improve ball winning, transition defence and physicality. If you sign Manu Kone, you want a midfielder who can beat the press, drive the team 30-40 yards up the pitch with the ball. He offers a blend of defensive work and progressive carrying. Then they said with Camavinga, if you want the most complete footballer, he's the best passer, the most tactically versatile and the cleanest in possession. The raw defensive output in 2025-26 wasn't as high as Baleba's, but he's good on that front as well. So again, I'm not saying that AI is the be-all and end-all, but I wanted to be honest with you. I just wanted to have a little look through and put them stats through and see what the computer said. And my version of AI probably isn't as advanced as Manchester United's data team over there, but for what United need, Baleba's attributes do seem to line up the best. It's interesting, isn't it? It really is. But I do think the most likely option that United goes for is Manu Kone, and I'm not against it. Physically, he's top. Ball carrying is fantastic. I just worry about injuries. I worry about injuries with Camavinga as well. And I also worry about the fact that, is he good enough technically on the ball? That's my only worry. I'm not worried about last night in terms of his game for France. Like a lot of people saying Tchouaméni's rubbish, Kone's rubbish. I think it's obvious that Spain were absolutely fantastic and the tactical setup in the midfield from France wasn't right. It was 2 against 3 for the majority of the game, which didn't work. However, Koné, there's things to like. Baleba, there's things to like. And with Camavinga, there's definitely things to like as well. Purely based on my experience of watching the three players, I would want Camavinga, but I think it's the most unlikely option, to be honest with you. Also, with Camavinga, he's been linked to Spurs and he's been linked to Man City as well. So it's going to be competitive to get his signature. But I think United like him because the data team have looked at him before. We've tried to sign him before. And he's only 23. Kone's 25. I think Baleba's 22. If I just go and double check on that one. Baleba. Yeah, he's 22 years of age. So if you want looking at the youngest prospect there, it is Baleba, but also it's probably the riskiest as well. I mean, getting your votes in the poll, which one you would choose. We've got Ogden Bealaid says Baleba is a defensive beast. Baleba's ball carrying is terrifying. You are not honest. Baleba is skillful. What have you seen him do? You've never seen Koné try it. Baleba is a defensive beast. People talking about João Gomez now in the comments. Wouldn't surprise me if João Gomez came back on the scene. Wouldn't surprise me. Oh, you know what? People can laugh at me saying I use ChatGPT for a small portion of data analysis, but anytime I use that, I will be completely honest. And I just wanted to bring it in and make it very, very clear. There'll be people that sit there for about 40 minutes talking to you who have looked at that and not even told you about it. So it's just a little, I'm not saying it's accurate. I just wanted to bring in a little stat to bring into the show. Thank you everyone for getting your comments in. If I could have an update on what the poll is saying, that would be brilliant. Anthony Tracy says Buwadi for £70 million plus on loan to Lille for a year. Paulinho for £20 million. Yes to Buwadi, no to Paulinho. Yeah, I think Paulinho's been and gone, to be honest with you. But we won't go for Buwadi because we need midfielders now, and we've not got the money to spend 70 million on a player that we're loaning back out. I don't think we've got other positions we need to go and get. Brian says, Beth, we will sign Baleba, Caicedo or Koné. One of these three. Love from Singapore. Would you rather Baleba and Koné or Scott and Gomez? Ooh, I mean, we're not signing two more. I think that's slightly ambitious. We're not signing Caicedo either, but if I had to pick Baleba and Koné or Scott and Gomez, that is difficult. That is difficult. Help me out, chat. What would you do? I am actually getting splinters all over my bottom right now because I'm sitting on the fence. What would you do on that one? I'd probably do Scott and Gomez. That isn't to say that Baleba and Koné can't be impactful for United. With Baleba, I've got to be honest, and Goldbridge will kill me for this on the 8 PM show. He'll probably kill me for it in the group chat. I still think it's massively risky, but I have been falling back into the trap over the last few days. When I've been looking at his stats, when I've been researching him, when I've been looking at, the potential that's there, his international performances, seeing people's analysis of him, I've been like, maybe I was right last summer when I said we should sign him. And maybe I'm starting to be a believer again, but it's a difficult one because I remember watching him last season and thinking he was rubbish. Not rubbish, that's mean. I remember watching him last season and thinking he was really poor. But what he's capable of doing, I'm falling back into that trap because if you look at where United have gone, Yuri Tillemans, progressive, number 8, just an all-action, fantastic midfielder, technically good on the ball. He's probably going to need some pace and power next to him. Although he did play in a midfield pivot with Lindelof for large parts of Aston Villa's season, so take of that what you will. Kobbie Mainoo, we all know that he needs some pace and power next to him. Andre Santos, he's a bit of an unknown, isn't he? Like, we know what he is, but how's Carrick going to use him? Because he can play as an 8, he can play as a 6, he can play more advanced. It's going to be interesting to see where Andre Santos fits in. But when you're looking at that one profile we're missing, it is that defensive beast, isn't it? Anthony Tracy says, Beth, what about Darwin Núñez on a free striker/left? No, I wanted him before he went to Liverpool. I really wanted him before he went to Liverpool, but nah, I'm all right. If United signed him, I won't turn my nose up at it, but it won't be one I'd be chasing. Gazzy United says, Goldbridge has brainwashed all of you. Baleba is the perfect midfield profile. No one has their own opinion in here. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. What I will say is I'm not as harsh on Baleba as Goldbridge is. He's very much against it. However, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and Baleba did have a terrible season. Like, he was being benched by 36-year-old Milner. Like, he was getting hooked at half-time. He had a bad season. Like, there's no glitzing over that. But that doesn't mean there isn't a player there loads of players early on in their career can have an off season or a poor season, then they can bounce back and become whatever they want to be. What we saw in Belieber the season before that, and the raw attributes he has, there's definitely talent there and potential there. I don't think anyone would argue with that.
Get Lisandro Martinez out of my club for holding that banner. So look, we're here to talk about Manchester United, of course. England crashed out of the World Cup in the semi-final. My reaction to that's on That's Football. Maybe you want to talk about Manu a little bit later on. But Lisandro Martinez was one of the Argentinian players holding the banner that was political, in that he was saying that the Falklands basically belongs to Argentina when it's not. It doesn't. But maybe spiritually they think it does. It's political. It's anti-English. And Lisandro Martinez was holding that banner. Now, some people are saying that we should kick him out of England with every other Argentinian player that did it. I disagree. I think at the end of the day, politics in football should never... I've always been, firmly against that. But if I'm being completely honest, I mean, I'm a Man United fan. I'm not, England's nice for the World Cup and the Euros, but it's over now. And I look at the way Argentina played for each other and fought for each other, and I've got to say I'm very jealous of it. Obviously, if they get a sanction or a fine for doing that, then, fair play. FIFA have done what they should do. But, I mean, I don't want him out of Man United because of that. I think players like that are very important in a football team. And just because England lost, I don't really like politics in football. So I don't like the banner, whatever like that. But if I don't, I'd be a hypocrite to say get out of England, because then I would be being political. I want the best players at Manchester United. I want the players that care about Manchester United to play for Manchester United. And Lisandro Martinez, every time I've seen him in a Man United shirt, has given a shit. And he cares. So I do not want him out of Man United. I know that this will probably split opinion. I've seen it on the national news in the UK. There are far bigger issues in the UK in relation to potentially removing people than there is Lisandro Martinez. And I'll leave it at that. There are far bigger criminals and issues in the UK than removing a few Argentinian players for standing with a flag. So for me, it's ridiculous. But that's my say. Maybe other people have their own say on it. But no, very important player. And... if we look at the way Carrick plays counter-attacking football as well. I mean, I said this the other day. If Lisandro Martinez was playing for Boca Juniors, I think a lot of people would be saying, sign Lisandro Martinez to Manchester United. I think he's had that good a World Cup. So, I mean, there was talk of us selling him a couple of days ago. I mean, it's just completely and utterly English to do something stupid like that. I mean, there's a load of people saying, we should have took Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire makes no difference in that game yesterday. Harry Maguire's touching 35. I mean, I'm not interested in Harry Maguire. We've already got Harry Maguire. We've already got Lisandro Martinez. Keep him at the club. But look, I'm sure people will have a lot to say about it.